Hi there, and welcome back to number 5 in these videos about sustainability for business. This one we're going to be looking at energy and carbon reduction, which is these are the biggies that we're going to be thinking about. So we can always think about everything, every single thing we do, everything we consume has a carbon footprint. So energy is embedded into all of our goods and services and everything that we're thinking about. So when you're looking at your business, mostly you're going to be thinking about what energy is actually used by the company itself and how are you going to basically decarbonise all of the energy that you use in your organisation. So this is very dependent on whether you own your own estates or whether you're leasing buildings. If you're just on a kind of lease and you're in a kind of office space, for example, the easiest and most simple way is to choose a green energy supplier, and that will completely decarbonise if they're 100% renewables, and some are. Then that will completely take away all the carbon in your energy to use power and to heat your building. Gas is the really tricky one that we are going to be dealing with because loads of our buildings in the UK have central heatings or run gas boilers. So with the gas ones, this is where we're going to have to be a bit more innovative in our thinking about how we might be changing those in our buildings. And some of the green energy suppliers are trying to actually develop green gas supplies at the moment. So they're worth kind of having a little look about. You are likely to be paying a little bit more, but the cost of renewables is coming down all the time, and it will be dropping and dropping and dropping now. And particularly if things like carbon taxes come into play later, you're going to be thinking about future-proofing your organisation by bringing those costs down now. If you are lucky enough to obviously own a building, then you can think about how you're going to be powering that by renewable energy. So you might be choosing solar PV, ground source heat, all different types of things could be used. If you, for example, when I used to work in the hospitals, they had such large amounts of catering waste coming through every day that they were able to consider biodigesters to actually do power some of their heating in their buildings. So there's quite some useful things that you want to be thinking about. The other thing to think about is how you actually might be reducing the energy consumption within your operation. So this is just a little image around the retail industry. But you will be thinking about what equipment you're going to be buying. It's going to be needs to be the most energy efficient equipment going forward. Are your settings optimized on heating and lighting and different systems? And are your staff aware of how to keep those completely at the maximising the right levels to reduce the energy that's actually consumed by them? And that will also include staff making sure that they're turning off equipment at night, making sure the lights are off. Very simple behaviour change programs will also be driving down your carbon. Now, when you're thinking about embedded carbon, you will quite often come across scope 1, 2 and 3 carbon emissions talked about. Now your scope 1 and your scope 2, they're they're either the energy produced directly by you or the energy that you're actually buying in from the power station. So they're the kind of relatively simple ones to monitor. You'll be able to look at your energy bills at the very minimum to understand what energy you're using, and then through that you can actually evaluate how effective different technologies are in reducing those. The scope 3 stuff is then the difficult things. It's where you're looking at your up and down supply chains, customer waste, water used in products, shipping, travel and transport, all the other myriad of objects around your business or services around your business or products. They're going to be coming into those scope 3, and they are the tricky ones to calculate, but there are calculators available. Do have a look at some of them. There was one I found on a website called California that had quite a useful carbon calculator for business. There's also science-based targets, greenhouse gas protocols. They have a look at the Carbon Trust. They do a carbon calculator. So they are out there. You can start thinking of them. And if you're not, you know, these don't... If you're a smaller enterprise and you don't have the capacity to do this, just put ballpark figures against it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. It's about actually getting in place the will and the intention to actually take action to drive down your carbon and reduce your energy and decouple from fossil fuels to renewable technologies. And then finally, there are some useful resources. As I said, there's lots of carbon calculators out there. There's some really great reports. Your sectors are likely to have ideas about how you might be improving sustainability in your business practices. And then there's some really great little graphics around. This one was from an Irish report, and again, these are simple mechanisms, and all of these are completely applicable to different businesses and different places. And this last one here as well about collaboration, that's really useful if you are kind of in an industrial estate, for example, and you want to be thinking about how you might work with your neighbours or the organisations around you to develop kind of wider renewable energy projects. And these, you know, there's potential for funding through local economic partnerships or different organisations. You can push for this funding. This is growth funding, green growth funding. So try and find it. Think outside the box, work with others, see what's going on in your local area. Some local areas are lucky enough to have community cooperative energy projects, and again, you might be able to kind of use some of your purchasing power to start supporting these and think about how that might be offsetting some of your carbon targets as well. So that's a kind of whiz through on the energy and carbon reduction side of thing. In the next video I'll be looking at water and how precious a resource that is as well. I hope this has given you some useful ideas though, and I'll see you soon.